Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on Richard III and we get to dig into Act 5 today. Hooray! But first we have to finish up with what happened in Act 4 because, as we know, Act 4, Scene 3 is the longest. It's a very long scene. Maybe not the longest scene, but it's a very long scene. And a lot happened in there. Most recently, Richard was able to convince Queen Elizabeth to let him marry her daughter Elizabeth because he feels like that will solidify his position. So she has gone off to give young Elizabeth the news that she's going to be marrying her murderous uncle who killed her brothers. And in the meantime, Lord Stanley came in and was talking to Richard, and Richard's like, well, why haven't you mustered this army of friends yet? And Lord Stanley was like, because you didn't tell me to. And he's like, well, go muster them now. Go north and get them and bring them back. And by the way, I'm holding your son hostage. So if you don't come back with an army, I'm going to kill your son. So Stanley goes off to muster an army, which we'll get to the air quotes in a second. He goes off to muster an army, and then messengers come in from all over the place saying that Richmond and his troops are landing all over England. And Richard's like, okay, now we got to go fight this war. And in the meantime, let's go ahead and take Buckingham to Salisbury so he can be killed. And that was the end of what other versions call Act 4, Scene 4. In the continuation of Act 4, Scene 3, which other versions call Act 4, Scene 5, we get to see Lord Stanley sending a letter to Richmond because Stanley had actually planned on meeting up with Richmond and taking his side against Richard. But he sends a letter and he's like, I can't overtly come and help you yet because he's holding my son hostage and I need to make sure that my son lives. So I got to go do this thing and then I'll come back. And also, by the way, Queen Elizabeth has agreed to let young Elizabeth marry Richard to solidify that. So that letter gets sent off to Richmond so that Richmond knows what's going on Richard's side of things. And that's the end of Act 4. We finally got to the end of Act 4. So Act 5, Scene 1, everything scene-wise is lining up again, so we're just in Act 5, Scene 1. We get to hear from Buckingham because he's now in Salisbury and he's being taken to be executed. And it's just him and like the guards, and he's like, Richard won't even talk to me, and they're like, nope, he won't talk to you. And Buckingham is like, well, today's All Souls Day, isn't it? And they're like, yep. And he says, why then All Souls Day is my body's doomsday. This is the day which in King Edward's time I wished might fall on me when I was found false to his children and his wives' allies. This is the day wherein I wished to fall by the false faith of him whom most I trusted. This All Souls Day to my fearful soul is the determined respite of my wrongs. That high all-seer which I dallied with hath turned my feigned prayer on my head and given in earnest what I begged in jest. Thus doth he force the swords of wicked men to turn their own points in their masters' bosoms. Thus Margaret's curse falls heavy on my neck. When he, quoth she, shall split thy heart with sorrow, remember Margaret was a prophetess. Come, lead me, officers, to the block of shame. Wrong hath but wrong, and blame the due of blame. And that's the end of Act 5, Scene 1. It's a really short one, which is kind of fun. So what he's saying is when he took Richard's side, because remember, Buckingham was Richard's like right-hand man as Richard was trying to get the throne, and then he got cast off because he didn't want to kill young Richard and young Edward. I almost said Edmund. Edward and Richard. And now he's being killed for it. But when he was like a traitor to King Edward, he was kind of joking and saying, oh, I hope that if I'm ever found traitorous that they kill me, or something like that. And now he's being found traitorous to a different king, so that thing that he had sort of joked about, he's now getting, and it's coming true. And it's very much in line with the curses that Margaret laid out on everybody who was not on her side while her family was being killed. So he's regretful for his actions, and he accepts his fate, and he knows that he has to go die. And at the end of Act 5, Scene 1, they take him off to kill him. And that's the end of Act 5, Scene 1. So tomorrow we're in Act 5, Scene 2, because we still have like a war that needs to be fought. We have an act to get through a war. Think that's enough time? That's probably enough time. Yeah. Anyway, I'll see you tomorrow for that. Mwah.